Good morning, everybody. On this date in 1858, August 11, Charles Barrington, a Brit, ascended to the top of the Eiger, one of the gorgeous mountain peaks in the center of Switzerland, along with two Swiss guides who were from the area. And this was part of what's known as the Golden Age of mountaineering. This is Mount Olympus in Greece, the home of the gods, and this reminds us that in many religious traditions there's a holy mountain or a holy high place. Another one you might recall from your studies of myths is Vulcan. He lived here on Mount Etna in Sicily and was punished for giving fire to man. Well, this is Ben Nevis. It's the highest point in the UK at 4,413 feet. And many of those early mountaineers practiced on this. This is where they would climb or they would go to the Lake District in England. And you can tell from this photograph that there are hilly areas and high places there. Another group that liked the Lake District was the Romantics. And if you look at the list of authors, you see Mr. Coleridge. Well, he was the man who coined the word mountaineering in the early 1800s because Romantics loved to get out into nature. In 1857, the English Alpine Club was started by a group of what we will call Victorian gentlemen. These were people who had not only a lot of money, but they had a lot of time. And mountain climbing became something they would do, and they focused on the Alps. So here's a map of the range of the Alps between France, Switzerland, Italy, Austria, and so on. And the area that they initially focused on is within this box. And this is where some of those first peaks were that these early mountaineers tried to climb. And this became kind of the classic mountaineering place. And one of the reasons is these three mountains are lined up in a perfect line. Eiger on the left, which is our story, the Monk in the middle, and the Jungfrau on the right. And our event happened on this date, August 11, in 1858, when Charles Barrington climbed the west face of the Eiger. He himself didn't know a lot about climbing, but he had two really good local Swiss guides, and that made all the difference. And over the next decades, Victorian gentlemen would hire guides, and they would go to these peaks in Switzerland, in Austria, in the Pyrenees, eventually the Himalayas. And they also developed some of the mountaineering equipment that we know today. Here's a photograph of some really old crampons for going through glaciers and ice fields. You may recall the Clint Eastwood movie, The Eiger Sanction, with George Kennedy. This was filmed on location at the Eiger, and it had professional mountain climbers as technical advisors. So this is Grindelwald, Switzerland. It's a city at the base of the Eiger and some of these mountains. It's a great place to go for just local hiking. You can also use scopes and watch people climb mountains. And one reason people go to Grindelwald is all the options for transport. You can take a cable car, you can take a chairlift, or you can take a cog railroad, which is the green line, way up into the mountains to the saddle between the Monk and the Jungfrau. It's really breathtaking. And as you do that and you look back on where you've been, you marvel not only at the beauty of the scenery, but the engineering to build a railroad up to these high altitudes. So if you are in Grindelwald, take the cog railroad up to the Jungfrau Yoke Station at 11,322 feet, the highest in Europe, nestled among the glaciers. Now, a legacy of that time period is the long-distance hiking trail, and we have a number of them in our country. Here they are. Some of you have been on them, and it's going out to nature, but also testing yourself, which is a legacy of the mountaineers. So as we think about mountain climbing and the scenery from mountains, we think of these men and women who sort of started it all. in the mid-1800s.